I welcome today in this webinar, which is organized for panel discussion on the GST 49th GST Council meeting recommendations. And we have invited none other than V.K. Date sir, and Jitin Christopher sir, a well-known figure in the country in the field of indirect tax. And we also have with us Umesh Bhai Sharma, who is Vice Chairman to the GST Committee. This program we kept keeping in mind that each council meeting is as a budget which we have in case of direct taxes. Direct tax, usually they announce changes once in a year, but in GST it is happening for each council meeting, because whatever is going to change or whatever the government is thinking they want to implement, they implement through the recommendation of GST Council. Unless it is recommended by GST Council, nothing can change in our country. So for us, people who work in GST, each council meeting should be considered as presentation of budget by the finance minister, although he is presenting in the GST Council only, and not in the parliament, but have similar importance, have similar future for the changes and the recommendation of the GST Council is required, that we understand. So with these words, I am requesting Umesh Bhai to take us the changes, or rather to moderate today's panel discussion, which we have organized on the 49th GST Council meeting, as well as we want to keep special stress on the GST Tribunal, which is still to see the day of light after 5 years, 8 months almost now. Over to Umesh Bhai.
Yes, thank you, Sushil sir, Chairman of IDT Committee. It is always a happy moment and pleasurable moment to work under his chairmanship. And this is the first VCM that we are doing under his chairmanship, and we will take forward the initiatives of the GST Committee of ICI much ahead. Thank you, sir, for that. Friends, near about 500 plus participants, friends are there today to listen to this. And the number is 49 GST Council. So there were 490. Now it has crossed 500 plus participants. So it's a happy moment for all of us. And to have a panelist who is a guru of service tax and whose books we have referred when we were student, Vinayak Date sir, and the name itself suggests Vinayak. Vinayak is a symbol of knowledge, Ganesh ji, and we have none other than most knowledgeable person on GST, Vinayak Date sir. So
that is true.
Yes, sir. So thanks for giving a chance to us, being a panelist. And then we come down to our another profound panelist, Jitin Christopher sir. ये एक coincidence है. What is the meaning of Jatin? Jatin is also a name of symbolizes with Shivji, and इसका मतलब ये होता है कि एक अनुशासित व्यक्ति. तो we have a best person as a panelist in the GST on this subject. So welcome you, sir, for this session. So all the participants, being a moderator, I will start one by one the recommendations. I am sharing the screen here. Please let me know whether the screen is visible. Screen is visible, sir?
Not yet, sir.
Okay. Now it is coming.
Yes.
Okay. So let's start our discussion on the 49 GST Council meeting. As rightly pointed out by our chairman, sir, it's just like a budget every 2 or 3 months in the GST Council meeting. So I am taking one by one the recommendations. The meeting was held on 18th of Feb 2023. It is yet to be taken up through notification and made applicable, but these recommendations are of much more impact. The first press note para come with the GST Appellate Tribunal. And as rightly pointed out by Sushil Goyal sir and all the panelists, GST Council is a much awaited event for we all in the GST litigation. The council adopted the report of group of ministers with the certain modifications. The final draft amendment to the GST law shall be circulated to members for their comments. The chairperson has been authorized to finalize the same. So, GST Council is yet to be implemented or established. So, let's discuss the words of wisdom of Date sir on this point. Date sir, over to you, sir.
You see, the final contours of GST Appellate Tribunal are yet to be known. But whatever from press reports or whatever briefings we have heard, what we find that the earlier idea of tribunal has been completely changed. Earlier, they had two different types of tribunal. One is for state, that is where place of supply is not involved. And other is for center, that is where place of supply is involved, that is either it is interstate or it is export. So two types of tribunals were envisaged as in the original draft. But now what is finally coming out as it appears from the press report is that there will be only a single tribunal. There will be no bifurcation between center and state. That is what is understood. Secondly, what is, of course, if you have read something more, you can always give feedback to members exactly what is what they have in mind. Another thing, what I understand, that in the initial draft, they had one judicial member, one GST central member, and one GST state member. That means if you say 100 members are there, there will be 33 judicial and 33 state and 33 central. So that means the judicial members were given less weightage in the constitution of this appellate tribunal. Now, this is, as you know, basically tribunal constitution itself is sort of invasion on judiciary, because judiciary has to normally something has to decide and adjudicate. That is a function of judiciary. But over the years, it has been found that judiciary is not capable of taking the load. And that is why various specialized tribunals have been constituted. Now, though these constitutions, the tribunals, they are actually quasi-judicial authorities. And that means there has to be a balance between judicial members and technical members. And the present, what were laws suggesting that judicial members were hardly 33%. And that is why now what is understood from the report, that it will be 50-50, that is 50% judicial members, 25% GST central, and 25% GST state. I mean, that is my understanding. Maybe it is wrong, so I am open for correction. Secondly, what now still ultimately what you have to remember, that Babus are more interested in their self-interest than the interest of judiciary. So they give, in every tribunal constitution, it has been found that the Babus give more weightage to their members than to judicial members. And for example, now in this GST Appellate Tribunal, the advocates were allowed to be judicial members, and the members of their, they are also, that is a civil service, that is a judicial service, Babus. They are also allowed to become members of the judicial members. Now, that also I mean, in Madras High Court, this was challenged that how they can be appointed as a judicial member. Now, ultimately, what are the final things of going to come? That is not very clear, because they allow this judicial to be member. Then again, there is likely to be litigation. Then this is also not clear what is the tenure of the members, or technical members and the judicial member. Because generally, if they keep short tenure, 3 years, then 3 years is not, I mean, it doesn't attract good talents. So, what will be tenure, whether it will be attractive, whether what will be the strength of judicial members, all this has to be seen. So the total, unless we see the total, final law, it is very difficult to say. And ultimately the Babus have their own way in drafting, and I'm sure that they will keep their interest in mind before making a final decision. So in earliest, this tribunal, what is possible is October. Because ultimately, all the first thing now, maybe this in March, they will make present. So by 31st March, at least the central law will be enforced. But all other states have to pass it. So this is unlikely to be, tribunal is unlikely to come before October or before November or December of this year. And this is if nobody challenges it in High Court or Supreme Court. And if anybody challenges on any ground, then only God knows what is going to happen to this tribunal. In fact, the simple solution, you see, they do not want simple solutions. Simple solution was that when GST, I mean, law came into force on 1st July 2017, but they would have said that the SESTAT will be the appellate authority. Now, all the SESTAT provisions are well settled, well understood, well settled. So, if they had made the SESTAT as appellate authority, the tribunal would have come into force from the first day itself. But for some unknown reasons, the Babus didn't like that idea, and they created some complicated situations, and these complicated situations didn't work. Now let us hope that there will be no further litigation, and by October, November, we'll see the tribunal in force, because 5 years, 6 years are already gone. Now all people are approaching high courts. Now that is, it is very difficult to approach high courts for each and every small matter. First thing, it is costly, and secondly, high courts are not that familiar with the GST law. They are familiar with other laws. So people are suffering today. I hope by October, November, this tribunal comes into force, unless there is some further litigation.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Now, Jatin sir, over to you.
I concur with some of the points which Datesh sir made as regards the benefits that taxpayers will reap once the tribunal is formed. A few aspects relating to this, which I'm very encouraged by the announcements that we have seen so far, is that it will be a national tribunal. So in that sense, decisions of a national tribunal in any state can be cited as authority in decision matters that are coming up before the tribunal benches in other states. So that becomes a very big plus for taxpayers. And as regards the timelines, sir shared his perspective about how, because of the lawmaking process, this will unfold. Probably the government could even consider ordinance route for states to move their legislations to carry this amendment. But from a timeline point of view, one thing that I did catch in the press briefing was that these amendments, which the chairperson is authorized to finalize the language, could come in the form of Finance number 2 Bill 2023 and get included in this session itself. So that provides us, like sir rightly mentioned, a lot of work to go into the granular details about how the construct of the tribunal will be, and the related aspects for us to get into study. The next aspect is that with the POS-based distinction having done away with, all matters will now come in before the tribunals, the state tribunals themselves. Although they will be the national tribunal. They are designated as the state benches, but there's going to be no difference. It will be one uniform body. When we look at how these the structure of these benches will be, states are welcome to have more than one benches and locate them as best as they see fit based on the access to litigants is concerned. States can also collaborate, and instead of having their own benches in their states, they can work together so that they're able to optimize and locate benches which will cover more than one states as their jurisdiction. So this is where I see the point that Sir is making about if CESTAT were to be designated, then it could have, because we've seen this practice go on in the CESTAT as far as jurisdiction is concerned. But the fact that so much has been addressed is very encouraging. And for those who are interested to understand the background, I invite you to please consider the 39th GST Council minutes. And in para 13.9, there's this discussion about what is this legal hurdle that came in the way of introducing GST tribunal early itself. And then, like Sir mentioned about Madras Bar Association judgment 1, 2, 3, 4, which was subsequently carried to Supreme Court, and certain provisions struck down. So we are going to see a large number of changes in section 109, 110, 11, 12, 13 to deal with the enabling provisions in the statute. And once the President assumes office, please refer to Circular 132 of March 2020, where the limitation for all appeals to the tribunal, which is now in suspended animation, will spring to life, and we will have only the time will start as soon as President enters office. So at that time, we are expecting tribunal procedure rules to be notified. So members will need to be to quickly grasp those implications so that they can make the additional pre-deposit of 20% and get their appeals in order so that those can get filed in the tribunal. And this point, I completely agree with Sir, that tribunals will, when they open their doors, they will have a huge flood of matters getting listed, and it's going to be very interesting. More about this as we discuss further. Over to you, Meshi.
Yes, thank you, Jatin sir. Thank you, Date sir. It was a perfect analysis of past, present, and future coming of GST Appellate Tribunal. So we are keeping our finger crossed. Let's hope all the things come with the clarity and as soon as possible. So now over to you, Sushil sir, for your comments.
Thank you, Umesh bhai. Thank you, Date sir and Christopher sir. Date sir is of the view that it will take October, November. But I always say, sir, it is government wish when they want to do. Like in 1st July 2017, I think more than 50% states has not passed the GST law. And on 30th June, they have done ordinance, and GST is implemented in our country from 1st July 2017. So if they want to do, they can do through ordinance also. That is within their reach. That is all the wish of the government. I can say that they can do anytime. But it is, I think, delayed by single day is hampering the business, hampering the industries or business, everyone. As Date sir has mentioned, that this expense for the litigation is huge. If you want to go directly to High Court, it's a huge expenditure. So that government is also understanding. But a very pertinent point that Christopher sir has mentioned, the rules for the tribunal. Sir, they have mentioned that the first day the president enters the tribunal, his office. So he is entering the office, and when they will announce the rules, I think after entering office, he will frame the rules and it will be announced. Or the rules will be first framed, then he will enter the office. We have to see. And as you were saying, number of cases are waiting for the formation of tribunal, and everybody will rush for it. So that will be a great professional challenge I am seeing. And sir, the number of cases, one point I want to discuss here, since we are discussing appellate tribunal, number of states the government has collected by attachment. Even the order was not considered as served, as Christopher sir has mentioned about the March 2022 circular, where they have specifically mentioned that day patient enters the office, it will be considered as the order served. That date will be the considered as order served. So order is not served and doing collection. What will be the fate? I don't know how the government is going to deal with this member. The person from whom this money has been collected has to go to High Court only, or he can go to the tribunal and say that this money has been collected and it should be refunded. One more most important thing which is coming to my mind, and whether Christopher sir and Rata sir will agree or Umesh bhai will agree to this or not. I understand GST consultancy or the compliance in this litigation in GST have a very important role of accountant. Without understanding the integrity of the accounting, GST judgments will not be perfect to my understanding. And it was recognized in income tax, and there is the accounting member in the income tax tribunal. So, Date sir, first I want to wish Date sir views. Do you feel that the accounting member is required here? I'm not saying only confining to the chartered accountant, maybe cost accountant or company secretary, whoever be. But an accounting member is required who worked in the field of accountancy at least for the year 10 years or so, and should be part of this tribunal, because time and again, being chairman of this GST committee once again after a gap of 3 years, I understand so many professionals time and again request or complain that some of the officers need accounting knowledge more. So that is felt times and again. So Data sir and Christopher sir, if you can throw light on this, whether we should, from the platform of the institute, since we are talking whether institute should move ahead or present some white paper to the government that this accounting is more important now. So tribunal should have accounting number. May not be coming in this original tribunal. In future, if they want to modify some sort of things, whether they can do it.
The idea is excellent, but now it is too late. In fact, you should have represented it in July 2017 itself. But anyway, really it is even technical members. You see, you find that most of them are at commissioner level or something. No, they do not have knowledge of intake. For example, you see valuation, classification. These are so technical matters that for even for input tax credit, it is highly technical and accounts oriented matter. That is the ratios, proportionate distribution of input tax credit. They are so highly accounts oriented valuation, and they are so highly accounts oriented matters that unless you are familiar with the accounting principle, it is very difficult for them to grasp what we are. Now we present something about the distribution, overheads, and all that. Now all these words are Greek and Latin to them because they are not given. So it's a really excellent idea, but a little bit too late. So, but I think institute should take it forward. At least some other way, like say consultants, something like that, expert views. If we can say that in expert view, they can take something like that, because you see in many quasi-judicial tribunals, they are allowed to take expert views from outside. Now, if something can be done in the GST tribunal, that may be a good idea. May not be tribunal, but at least that experts is something we can do it immediately. So tribunal member will take some time. You can, the institute can think over whether we can do something about it.
Certainly, I agree that this is chartered accountants and accountant members in general can bring a lot of value to uncovering how the interpretation of financial statements will have a bearing on the tax positions taken either by the taxpayer or canvassed in the notice. So certainly this accountant members can bring a lot of value. And I haven't found anything to say that it may not have been factored in, because there is a big area of search cum selection committee, how it will be constituted and who are the persons, what qualifications will be considered. And if there is a surprise in the fine print, once we see it next week, then possibly we may have something to work in this direction. But if institute can come forward to offer its support as a partner in nation building, certainly this is something that the government may like to consider.
So Babus will oppose it.
Yes. So it was a nice deliberation on the GST Tribunal, and as pointed out by Sushil Goyalji and all our eminent panelists, ICI will definitely take it forward, and we will again represent it to the government for inclusion of a chartered accountant as a tribunal member. So now let's move to the next topic. We have discussed in detail on this topic, which was one of the prominent discussion to happen in this our panel discussion. Now I am going to next recommendation of the GST Council. The next press note para was regarding to the no capacity based levy for commodities like pan masala, gutka and chewing tobacco. With a view to plug the leakages and improve the revenue collections, the commodities like pan masala, etc., the council approved the recommendation of group of ministers. So they have formed a group of ministers and they want to plug the leakages and improve the revenue collection on this. But here they have given in the press note that the capacity-based levy not to be prescribed, which is very important point. Compliance and tracking measures to be taken to plug the leakages and evasions. This is a good thing. Then exports of such commodities to be allowed only against LUT, means letter of undertaking, with the consequential refund of accumulated ITC. So there will be check on the refund process. Then compensation cess levied on such commodities to be changed from ad valorem to specific tax-based levy to boost the first stage collection of the revenue. So when we go through this recommendation, lot of research may have been done by the government. Earlier there were excise, single point levy, pan masala and all these are sin goods. Lot of revenue leakages must be happening earlier and too much of control was there. And now in GST again they want to increase their revenue. So in this line, what's your view, sir? Date, sir?
I think all the four suggestions are very sensible and more or less practical. And whosoever has drafted it, he has really done a good job. Now, the GST compensation says, now what they are saying, change from ad valorem to specific tax base. Probably they will do it on the basis of MRP, because otherwise there does not seem to be any other basis on which, because weight, etc. Now I think pan masala weight may not be a workable solution. So MRP may be a workable solution, and this leakage, etc. You see, now basically what is happening is that on the one tax invoice, at least 3 or 4 consignments are taken out by various means. And this capacity-based levy, they had tried, but it never worked, because there are so many. Suppose they said that there is power failure, or so I don't have material, even then I had to pay. So these are lot of litigation-prone issue, and but I think that is the best thing what they have done in the present situation. LUT-based refund is also a good idea, so that at least there is some check on the inputs. Because you see, if there is some check on input, then you can have input-output ratio and find out whether whatever output you are showing, whether it has some relation with the input. I mean, if I'm not a pan masala manufacturer, but if I'm in their position, I will forget about refund, because the moment I go for refund under LUT, I have to show my inputs. And I don't think any pan masala manufacturer or tobacco manufacturer would like to show his inputs or quantity of inputs. So he may forget about he may find it cheaper to forget about the refund.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, over to you, Jatin, sir.
I have a few perspectives I want to share. One is the fact that capacity-based levy was considered and decided not to travel down that path is very significant, because it almost closes the doors on this topic, because we've seen what happened in Section 3A of Central Excise Act, how it was, like sir explained about how it wasn't, it was prone to litigation based on various factors. So this sort of door gets closed by this decision, and that is significant for the future also. So that I consider something very important. When these words compliance and tracking measures to be taken to plug leakages, I'm thinking which sections will be amended. And if those sections, for example, 129, 130 comes to my mind, and if those sections are once again amended, whether there's going to be a self-contained code created for these products, or it's going to be a tightening of 129, 130 applicable to all products. So therefore, my concern is that the details have to be examined as to how they will tighten, because tightening for these products and not so rigid provisions for others may not pass muster with the courts. So therefore, I'm concerned as to the side effects of what this can create for all others. And we have seen enough mayhem in the market about how 129 has been implemented. When we look at exports, another aspect that I consider is when LUT-based refund under 89.4 applies, services also become refundable. Now, what are services, input services for export of these products? There's no saying. While goods may not, can be monitored as far as the ratios are concerned. What about services? Now, services also come into this. So that becomes an area that's slightly nebulous. We will need to see how it is actually implemented. And when we have specific tax-based levy for these products, let's see what happens to 200% of the levy under 129. So I think 129 is going to see major changes. Those who are in these sectors have something to look forward to and be concerned about the amendments. What about the others who are not in this sector? What implications it may have for them? I am petrified with this announcement that they're going to tighten. When they say tighten, I don't know where it will get tight, and then it's going to cause some concern. I would only hope that government has given this some very deep thought about how to ring fence these products and leave the rest, because after all, government's intention also is to enable ease of doing business with e-invoicing threshold constantly being reviewed and lowered. Compliance has already set in. Mischief makers will anyway have to be dealt with a firm hand, but the rest should not have any implications by the measures being taken in these sectors.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your inputs. Now, over to you, Sushil, sir.
I fully agree with Jatin sir's views. And this was only coming to my mind. They want to take new compliance and tracking measures. Nothing is coming to my mind what is left out. The businessman is facing difficulties in complying the present provisions only. And if they further do it, where it will lead, I don't know. Because today's these provisions are really difficult to comply with. And we must say that when the government is talking about the ease of doing business, so they must allow. And one thing is coming to my mind. Earlier we used to say कि 10 गुनहगार छूट जाए लेकिन एक बेगुनाह को फांसी नहीं होनी चाहिए. But अभी now it is getting reversed कि चाहे 10 बेगुनाह को punishment मिल जाए, एक टैक्स इवेजन वाला नहीं छूटना चाहिए. अगर गवर्नमेंट इस लाइन पे जाएगी तो मतलब it is really difficult for businessmen to comply. Only my observation. If others may comment further, we invited. Umesh bhai, you can also speak of this. You are one of the panelists, although you are doing the role of moderator. Your views are also invited. What do you think of this type of discussion? Basically, if the government is still thinking to discuss this, implement, I don't know where we will lead. A question mark in my mind always. Umesh bhai, you please share your thoughts.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. when we go through the group of ministers meeting, actually this is a very big subject for many states. In few states there is a no pan masala, no gutka chewing law, and in few states it is there. So the manufacturing bases are shifted, the consumptions are happening somewhere. There is legal trade, illegal trade. So lot of law and order and Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and negative things is there of the pan masala and gutka. So when we look at it, it's already a complex subject, and they want to make it more complex to plug the loopholes and increase the revenue. And as rightly pointed out by our panelist, the day which are coming in future, this industry will face some more music, and that if the music is loud, the neighbor will also be affected. So we have to see how the things come. So this was the discussion. Hope our participants are also enjoying our discussion, because it's first time I think we are having such a nice panel discussion on every subject, and personally I am very much satisfied with the discussions. I am noting down, and our IDT team is also noting it down, because this discussion will lead to the post GST council meeting recommendations of ICI. So participants can also give their suggestions in the chat box. So we will take it further. So now let's go to the next recommendations. The next recommendation is relating to the GST rates on goods and services. It has been recommended to reduce the GST rate on RAB from 18% to 5% if sold in pre-packed and pre-labeled, and nil otherwise. Then pencil sharpener from 18% to 12%. And it is been decided to regularize the GST on RAB because there were some genuine doubt. And frankly, when we go through it, already pre-packed and pre-label is having a debate in the industry of food, that how actually the officer will go and check whether it's a pre-packed or pre-labeled, and it is not labeled. And the pencil sharpener, this was the only instrument which was left out of the compost box, because earlier the rates were reduced. Only sharpener was remained outside. Now they have taken it into the compost box of 12%. So these were the things. Now over to you, Date sir.
You see, I think these are not very significant matters. These are minor issues. So this is technical corrections. I think this is a good move.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Jatin sir.
About the tariff realignment, I'm sure wisdom has actually guided these decisions from the fitment committee and so on. But my concern again is about this as-is basis settlement of issues. What does it mean? It means not going to courts. Those who paid extra won't get refund. Those who have been agitating the matter till now will get away with this. So therefore, this is some retroactive things being done. So that is my concern, that somewhere along the line in all these things, it will solve disputes, but this is not the way to solve disputes. And if I have to say that 10 instances, ice cream and now solar power panels, all into 23A, if we say these things are being solved on as-is basis, then I don't know what happens to rule of law. So I'm a little bit, from a trade point of view, I welcome this resolution on as-is basis, but from an academic point of view, as a student of the subject, this as-is where-is basis is very, very scary for me, because this is setting a trend, because many things are being resolved on as-is where-is basis. So what does that mean? Should I continue litigating all doubtful issues now, or should I get relief in the future, or should I comply today and avoid litigation and be the loser tomorrow? That is my only reservation about this as-is basis approach.
Perfect, sir. You have taken us to a new area, as is basis. I think this is going to be much more discussed in future, because many of the products they are doing, like churi in case of dal mill, that was a very big debatable point. and as is basis they have done. And many members ask that we have charged nil, now they are saying 5, we have charged 5, they are saying nil. So what we should do? So you have rightly pointed out, sir. Over to you, Sushil, sir.
Yeah, but that is right from the beginning. Government has policy of head I win and tail you lose. Now, for example, if you go to a Supreme Court and win a case, you are 100% sure that in next budget there will be a retrospective amendment, and whatever you win in Supreme Court, you lose with the retrospective amendment. So this is a typical government attitude: head I win and tell you lose. So I don't think there is anything new. It is, I think, going on at least since 1947. May not be from earlier. So it is nothing new.
So it came from the Sholay movie, sir. That coin.
Only thing I want to say here, that something I am seeing rate is reducing. Otherwise, we used to see rate is increasing everywhere. So something new I am seeing on the board, that it is not increasing, it is reducing. And definitely Christopher sir has raised those, as it is basis is something questionable. Those who paid the taxes, not litigated, should not be punished. So that is the thing happening. Anyway, we should have to continue. Now, if they are reducing, we should accept it and move ahead.
Okay. Yes. So let's move to our next recommendation. This is pertaining to the GST rates on goods and services again. And they have given in the recommendation so that if a device like tracking device or data logger is already affixed on a container, no separate IGST shall be levied on such affixed device, and the nil IGST treatment available for the container shall also be available to such affixed device subject to the existing condition. So it's a very specific recommendation relating to the tagging of the device and IGST non-levy on that particular device and the movement of the container. So any quick points, sir? Date, sir?
Basically, in fact, even otherwise, if you go by the principle of composite supply and mixed supply, if you attach a tag like tracking device, it cannot change from a composite supply to a mixed supply. Even before this notification, it was a composite supply itself. Of course, this is regarding customs matter, but even if you go under the customs tariff, the principle is same, that if it is a composite supply, then you have to go by the principal supply. So maybe they're having some ideas about valuing it separately. But if you go by the basic principle of classification, now what they are saying it today, they should have done it long ago.
Yes. Over to you, Jatin, sir. Quick review.
Well, I welcome this clarification, but this clarification also brings to light that this is only prospective. So therefore, it sort of validates what was going on so far. So that is one area of concern. But this clarity, I agree that it's based on the first principles and it should operate on this basis only.
Okay. Sushil, sir.
Only it is surprising seeing this type of clarification that some of the officer wanted to tax this. Then only this type of clarifications are coming. So this is very surprising why officers are extending their arms like this. It is a clear understanding when the container is not taxable, why the device attached to that container should be taxable. But somehow in somewhere notices has been issued definitely. That's why people felt the punch and pinch and they came to the GST Council and this clarification came. But this type of, now sir, Christopher sir, only I was discussing somewhere that whatever beneficial provision which is beneficial to the assessees or the taxpayer in case of GST should be applied. It should not be beneficial to the department should be applied. That is the only attitude required. Attitude changes is required. If this type of changes, clarifications are coming, it is sorry figure for the department, I can say. This is not required to issue this type of clarification unless somebody has asked to pay the tax on this. Yes, please move ahead, Umesh bhai.
Yes, sir.
Or
Thank you.
Or you want to, your comments is also invited if you want to do it.
No. Wherever possible, I will do, sir. Thank you. Now, let's move to the next recommendation. This is related to the rates. And again, here compensation rate. So that exemption benefit covers both coal rejects supplied to and by a coal washery arising out of coal on which compensation cess has been paid and no ITC thereof has been availed by any person. So this has been a more of a coal related matter and it is arising out of the compensation cess. Though it may be a limited affecting area, but this was an one point which was to be referred. So, Date sir, any quick take?
I'm not familiar with this product, so better not to comment on that product.
Okay, sir. Jatin sir.
About this is a outcome of industry representation that was going on for a long time, and the council had entertained this topic with with great interest. And I hope the language meets the requirements of the industry that was represented. But this is certainly welcome.
Yes, Sushil sir. Okay, so. कोयले में ज्यादा हाथ काले नहीं करने चाहिए ऐसा कहते हैं. So let's move to next. Relating to GST rates on goods and services. This is again the important clarification or say point which has come up in recommendation to extend the exemption available to educational institutions and central and state educational board for conduct of entrance examination to any authority, board, or a body set up by the central government or state government, including National Testing Agency, for conduct of entrance examination for admission to educational institution. So they are extending the exemption list for the conduct of examination. And from my side, ICI is also a body set up under the Act of Parliament. Sushil sir, your views will be very important on this.
Well, surely ICI is not central government, so don't extend the logic too far.
Yeah.
By any state of imagination, ICI cannot be
a body set up by central government.
No, it very difficult to state that logic.
Yes, Jatin sir. See, the way exemption will be extended is of interest to me because one, it will, if a new clause is added to, let's say, entry 66 in 12R17, then it will operate as prospective. So it also establishes that for the past, what treatment is to be given. So therefore, I'm again touching back on this as-is basis approach. So this the nature of this extension of this exemption, but the exemption is necessary in this case for two reasons, because because exemption is the antithesis of GST. GST is a multi-point tax, so there should not be any exemption because it breaks the chain. We all understand that. And wherever this chain is likely to be broken, it is being shifted into reverse charge so that continuity is maintained. But here, students take exams, parents pay for it. These bodies conduct those exams, so there's no reverse charge feasibility also. So what happens here is taxes will cascade because conducting these exams is not a small task, and these organizations will hire exam halls from schools and colleges across the country for the duration of the exam. So therefore, imagine the cascading that takes place. All those institutions who let out their facilities for NTA to conduct their exams, that is not part of the exemption entry. So therefore, they will charge tax on forward basis, but no credit flowing here. So therefore, cascading those implications will add to the cost of those institutions. So I think if exemption should be given, the entire chain should be exempt or not at all. That I think sort of is slightly off center here. And I suppose it's some predicament that they have that's necessitated this extension of the exemption here.
Yes. But mostly, in most of the cases, this is jobs are subcontracted by government to some agency. Now, whether that exemption will go to the agency or that agency will still be liable. So, if the agency is held liable, then this exemption is practically a futility. Because most of the cases, government themselves do not conduct this test. They have subcontracted to some agency, and that's how agency will be liable to pay GST. So, we are back to square one.
Correct. Over to you, Sushil sir. Quick review.
To my understanding, this is for agencies only. If they are themselves conducting, then no tax is supposed to be charged. Only it is conducted by entrance tax. Examination has been conducted by some agencies to this authority. I believe so.
Okay.
The exemption is available to educational institutions, central or state educational board for conduct of entrance exam to any authority. So basically, these education institutions are sort of agencies they are conducting. And I think most of the services for these agencies are not taxable much also. So it will definitely help. A few of the education centers, like education institutions, they will definitely benefited of this. I'm not seeing anything wrong here, but the Jatin sir has clearly mentioned whether it is coming as a circular or it is coming as an amendment in the notification, then we have to see it is prospective or it is retrospective.
Okay, sir.
That is things to be seen.
So this is pertaining to the examination. So we will again re-examine the notification when it comes. So now we move to the next recommendation relating to GST rates on goods and services to extend the dispensation available to central government, state governments, parliaments, and state legislature with regard to payment of GST under RCM to the courts and tribunal, also in respect of taxable services supplied by them, such as renting of premises to telecommunication companies, for installation of towers, renting of chambers to lawyer, etc. So hope we will get some new entries in RCM also. So let's have our detailed view on this. Date sir.
Then you see, now this is all right, but I am worried about this term for installation of chambers of lawyers. Now you see, at present lawyers are exempted. Now, since lawyers are not required to register. Now under RCM, as the law stands today, if you are under RCM, then you become liable to pay GST irrespective of the turnover. Now, of course, now they are amending the section with retrospective effect that if you are otherwise exempted, then you will continue this exemption under RCM also. But so if that is there, then advocates will not be coming under RCM. But otherwise, they can come. I mean, they will. I mean, technically, they will have to register and pay GST if the section is not amended.
Jatin sir. Jatin sir.
So, I agree with that. I agree with that, sir. This is a plain simple requirement that is being met through RCM route, but the details have to be examined to see if there are significant implications arising from it.
Yes. Sushil sir, any quick take?
No, sir. As mentioned by you, reverse charge, new list is coming, a new item is coming, and I always say when something is, you have to drive a vehicle reverse, you have to be extra careful. And the awareness in the public is not that much regarding reverse charge. They here and there, they do some changes and the entry get included. But whether public is fully aware, I think it is required. Rather even the government support service, one of the services in the reverse charge, I think largely not complied with. People are not aware that if I am paying some fees to the government, I am liable to pay taxes on that also. And people are not accepting also. If they understand it is some sort of tax they have paid, it is not a fees they have paid for the services. And this fine line is also not yet defined, that what is coming as a services, what is coming as a taxes. Although experts are here, if we give them case, they will definitely identify whether this is a tax or this is a fees. But I'm talking about a person who is from common and common
Yeah, for
public,
example-
whether they... Yes, Date sir.
If, for example, you are under a composition scheme and you take
Yeah.
advocate services, are you liable under reverse charge?
Yes, sir, we are liable under reverse charge.
Under a
We are
composition
liable
scheme.
under... Yes, sir.
Now, how many composition dealers are aware of this provision?
No,
How many-
none
None
of them, sir. None of them.
No, so you see, once you are under composition scheme, then you see, composition scheme, basic idea, it is a simplified scheme. Once it is a simplified scheme, then bringing it in the reverse charge mechanism in a composition scheme, that kills the basic principle of composition scheme. So composition scheme is a simple composition scheme, and I don't think many composition dealers are paying under reverse charge. And most of them, you have to go to advocate for some service. You have to go to security agencies for some service.
So now the renting also included in the large scale. And moreover, sir, they are not eligible to take credit also. That is a cost to them, extra cost to them. But Jitin sir will also agree to this. They are liable to pay. I won't think he is denying that they are not liable to pay tax and reverse charge. And with all the panelists, I was seeing the list on the services under reverse charge. It is huge. If you see the list, it is really now extending. And somebody may author a book on reverse charge only, not required to write the entire GST. Reverse charge itself becomes so big.
Good idea, sir. We will publish a special book on it under your chairmanship immediately.
Thank you, sir. Please move on.
And we will request Date sir and Jatin sir to help us.
In reverse charge, input tax credit is another big issue because you don't pay him in time, you don't pay tax in time, and then you end up in losing input tax credit also.
Yes. Any quick point, Jatin sir? Or shall we move ahead?
We'll move on, sir. We'll move on.
Okay. So now we move to the next because reverse charge is a never-ending story and it is a tool for GST auditor from the department to come and check that many times. And let's see how it shapes up. Now measures for the facilitation of trade. Extension of time limit for application of renovation, of cancellation of registration, and one-time relaxation for past cases. So now we are moving toward the new area. People generally call it as an amnesty scheme. There are 3 features coming up in the amnesty scheme. So first is the revocation of cancellation of registration. So what is there? The time limit increase means it's they want to amend the law for making an application for revocation of cancellation from 30 days to 90 days. And if registered person fails to apply such revocation within 90 days, time limit may be extended by commissioner or an officer authorized by him in this behalf for further 90 days. So it can go up to 180 days. Currently it is 30 days. So a lot of issues are there pertaining to this. And what comes for one-time relaxation as for the past cases, but for the future, they are proposing the extension of time limit. So let's discuss on this topic, which is a very burning topic. Over to you, Date sir.
Yeah, this is a very good proposal because in many states or many offices, now cancellation of GST registration has become a big money-making business. At the drop of hat, they cancel the registration and then they harass the taxpayers. So this has become a big tool of harassment with the GST officers. And in fact, there has to be strict limits on this cancellation authority also. And once your registration is cancelled, then you become practically helpless and you run from pillar to post. So busting this is one of the provisions which is being grossly misused. And in fact, busting this provision has to be controlled. But even otherwise, what they're doing is sensible.
Sir.
This is certainly welcome because there are a number of taxpayers who are not even aware that their registrations have got cancelled and they have lost the time to go in for this. But look at the flip side. To this 180 days, we will add that time limit to file appeal of 4 months. And then the time taken in appeal, which is 1 or 2 years in the first appellate authority to restore registration. My concern is what happens to 16.4 during this intervening period. Due to cancellation, my credentials were locked. And now the appellate authority restores registration. Basically, the appellate authority is saying original authority decision was not correct. Once they have admitted that they made a mistake, how can I be penalized for 16.4? And the problem is, where is the saving provision under 16.4? So my concern is 16.4 is on the path of self-destruction with provisions like this. Therefore, 16.4 needs to find its place to be a directory provision and not a mandatory provision, as today 16.4 is a monster among MSME segments who are facing the serious amount of credits being denied on the premise of 16.4. So I will see that these provisions are welcome. They will slowly chip away at the rigor of 16.4 and provide some relief possibly in time. And government could straight away address, take the bull by the horns and answer that 16.4 question while they are enabling these trade facilitation measures, which we all welcome.
Yes. Over to you, Sushil sir. And any comment on the past cases relaxation?
This relaxation is welcome, but when I have two gurus of the GST, I must want to discuss one point. Two clients visited my office today, and both are basically have a notice from the department that from whom you have taken credit, his registration is cancelled from day one. That is 1st July 2017, registration has been cancelled by the department. So as the registration is cancelled, credit you have to deposit. And now I'm coming to the main story. Why registration is cancelled? Because some of the officer visited the premises and he found that it is registration has been taken on the table space, or the documents was not so foolproof. So he thought that he should not be allowed to continue with the registration. So he cancelled. And once he gone for cancellation, he cancelled from the 1st July 2017. Now, department is saying since the registration is cancelled from 1st July 2017, you are liable to deposit the tax from day one. So, very, very tricky situations. Registration is cancelled from 1st July 2017, but we have to understand why it is cancelled. It is cancelled just for address verification. There is no evasion of tax or non-payment of duty by this gentleman. He was regularly complying with the law, paying the duties. So the person who has taken input is complied with all the conditions other than this. So how to deal this type of situation? Why these are getting cancelled from the day one? Because the provision is there, whenever there is a document is deficiency is there, that will be cancelled from the day one. So I want views from the or learned panelist, and definitely it should be part of the ICI this post budget post GST council recommendation.
This is a tool for harassment by department officers. Just like e-way bill, it has become an official highway robbery. This provision of cancellation of registration is a big tool of harassment and taking out money. It has to stop.
Yes. Yes, sir. Many issues are coming up from this section 16.4, then cancellation of registration, not giving proper opportunity. Notices are coming in the portal. Many people doesn't know. The time limits have gone and they cannot do. The officer says that the time limit is over. Now they have extended the time limit. So let's hope many will get benefit from it and a good relief may come for the past cases, and the ITC will not be denied in such cases. That is a very important point to note. And in the recent Aurangabad bench also, where we have fought a case, the justice told that if you are removing a child from a school, then he will be deprived from the education. So it is the same case of cancellation of registration. You are depriving him from the doing the business, where he will go to do the business in future, because the PAN get blocked, the GST number get blocked, and everything get blocked. So that should not be the case. Cancellation should be the last penal action on the registration taxpayer. That was the view of the judge. So These were the points. Now let's move to the next measure. One-time relaxation scheme for conditional deemed withdrawal of assessment order in past cases. So again, this is a second feature of the GST amnesty scheme, which we popularly call that, where the concerned return could not be filed within 30 days of the assessment order, but has been filed along with the due interest and late fees up to a specified date, irrespective of whether appeal has been filed or not filed against the assessment order, or whether the said appeal has been decided or not. There will be withdrawal of that ex parte assessment order. So this is the new feature of amnesty, one type of amnesty coming, where the ex parte orders has been passed. So this is also one of the important point which was discussed earlier within the department and within the taxpayers. So over to you, Date sir, on this point.
Most of the time, such assessments are highly exaggerated, and these are not sensible. Most of the cases, they just whatever they feel like, they issue assessment order, and I don't think many will pay for such exaggerated demands. But if suppose they pay, then it is okay.
Correct. So the point which you raise is that the assessed dues or return dues, which are there as per my books of accounts, if I file them with interest and late fees, whether this ex parte order will be withdrawn. Over to you, Jatin sir.
Sir, when we are giving some amnesty, there should not be any affirmative action by taxpayer from now onwards. If he has filed returns, it is available in the portal. Set the number of days that is reasonable, and automatically undo these orders rather than expect affirmative action, because people who have suffered ex parte orders under these best judgment orders under 62 are people who are not conversant with the online system of GST. So now they will not know what is to be done to avail this facility. The facility is given, but now they don't know what to do. Like, even there are people who have missed 2022 transition credit opportunity also, and now they're wondering what needs to be done. If amnesty is to be given, it should be automatic. It should not require affirmative action. That's my concern. But still, it is welcome. It's better than nothing, but certainly this has its own pitfalls.
Yes. Over to you, Sushil sir, for quick review.
No, not much to comment after this, both the comments. Thank you. Keep going.
Okay. So hope that these ex parte orders will be automatically withdrawn. Even though appeal is filed, that appeal will stand withdrawn. Let's wait for the amnesty to come for the fine details in future. So let's move to the next part of the amnesty. This is the third feature. It is regarding to the rationalization of late fees for annual return. Presently, the late fees is 200 per day, which is 100 rupees for CGST, 100 rupees for SGST, subject to maximum 0.5% of the turnover in the state or UT GST, is payable in case of delayed filing of annual return 9. The council recommended to rationalize these late fees for delayed filing of the annual return 9 for financial year 22-23 onwards for registered person having aggregate turnover in a financial year up to 20 crores. And further, they have also proposed a relaxation in respect of pending returns of GSTR 4, GSTR 9, again annual return, GSTR 10 for the pending returns for the past years by way of concessional waiver or reduction of the fees. So this has been proposed here, and the fees of 200 rupees per day has been reduced to 50 up to 5 crores, and then from 5 crore to 20 crore they have proposed 100 rupees. So this is coming up. Over to you, Date sir, on this point.
This is a good proposal, but we have to see the final draft, how they come in. You see, because the Babus have a peculiar way of drafting a situation such a way that many people don't get the desired benefit. You see, they are like Shukracharya in the government wants to give, but the Shukracharya doesn't allow the government to give. So these Babus are like Shukracharya, and even if government is willing to give, the Babus will ensure that the benefit doesn't go. So hope the Babus do not play mischief in drafting these amnesty provisions. So government has good intentions, but Babus have their own way of not allowing such benefits. So they keep some ifs and buts and whatever they are, so that the intended benefit doesn't go. Hope the drafting is clear and neat.
Yes. Over to you, Jatin sir.
Two aspects here. One is the amnesty for the past. We have to see the language like sir mentioned, and for the future, it's going to be a scaled down extent of this fine. But my concern is where is the section to demand late fee? Show cause notice cannot be issued under 47. Show cause notice cannot be issued under 73, 74 for late fee. There is no demand provisions. And what's happening on the ground is penalty show cause notices are being issued under 125 for late fee. So therefore, that piece is still open and incomplete, which needs to be addressed. Either the portal itself will begin to prevent filing of next year's annual return if the past is done, but where is the statutory provisions to support demand and recovery? That is my area of concern. Scaling it down only means that it was very excessive in the past, and there are a lot of people who have paid through their nose and they will not get any resolution, but those who have continued to remain in default are going to get resolution. But look, the message that's coming out here is of concern to me. That's the only point I want, and I'll leave it at that.
Yes, as rightly pointed out by you, sir. Let's hear to Sushil Goyalji.
Sir, I have only objection to this amendment is the word amnesty. What amnesty exactly means? Sir, I googled what amnesty means. If somebody has done some crime and government is giving waiver from the crime, not going to punish that person. So whether late filing of return is at all a crime, so government must think of the amnesty, sir. We, in the past, sir, 50% tax you pay, that is the amnesty. No interest, no penalty, that can be considered as amnesty. But reducing, that is not totally waiver also, that is reducing or partly waiver. So basically, I have objection to word of amnesty. Amnesty has a larger meaning and larger implications. That is where rationalization word is more suited to this type of changes rather amnesty. This much only I want to say. And definitely welcome when your government is giving some benefit to the SSs is welcomed by us. Thank you.
Yes. So when we go through this, some forms they have left out. GSTR 1, 3B, they have left out. So earlier we have seen that relaxation in the registration, they will be given registration and then they will have to file the returns. So what will happen to 1 or 3 which are pending, which was the point raised by Jatin sir because of section 16.4. They are not covered here. It's only for annual return. That is very important to note down here. And I just want to refer here. One RTI was filed by someone 1 or 2 months earlier. And for the last 5 years, 5,500 crores odd figure late fees the GSTN has collected. And Jatin sir has given a point that where is the section to demand the late fees? But the government has collected 5,500 plus crores of late fees. So this is a very important point to be noted here. So let's see what comes in future and what comes in the fine print. So let's move to the next. Now, here the rationalization of provision for place of supply of services of transportation of goods. It's a very peculiar case. By deleting section 13 subsection 9 of IGST Act 2017 to provide that the place of supply of services for transportation of goods in cases where the location of supplier of goods or location of recipient of services is outside India shall be the location of recipient of services. So it will have a large impact on few of the transactions. So let's have view of our panelist. Over to you, Date sir.
I think this is basically to provide a level playing field to Indian shipping industry, because you see people were managing such that suppose this once 13.9 goes, then you go in 13.2, that is residuary provision, where the recipient is liable to pay the recipient will, where the recipient is located, that will be treated as place of supply. So now whether, and after this amendment is made, whether you engage an Indian shipping company or a foreign shipping company, the liability will be, GST liability will be same. So this is basically, I believe, it is a change made to provide a level playing field to Indian shipping industry. So it's a good proposal.
Over to you, Jatin sir.
This is certainly welcome. I agree with all the points that sir mentioned. This is necessary. And with the proviso to 12.8 going, 39 was inevitable. It was to go. I'm only curious whether deleting will be omitting it or only deleting it prospectively. That aspect I have to again reflect on once we see the language in the bill that comes out, because this should also, whether this will also operate like a as-is basis resolution of this ongoing issue is an area that I'm interested to look at.
Okay. Sushil sir, your views?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is basically creating confusion, and they were denying the credit. So IGST credit within the same state will not be allowed. This type of problem will resolve. So definitely a welcome step and clarification sort of thing. And I hope it will help the members.
Okay. So I think this was the last recommendation to discuss. Now the floor is open. Till that date, I will go through the next panel of question and answer. I request all the panelists to express their views. So let's start with Date sir, your views as a concluding remarks. Then we will move to question and answers.
Rather, Umesh, you should request, sir.
And I hope the drafting is done soon and the provisions are implemented soon.
No, sir, 1 minute. Before you start, sir, my request to you will be that what is not came as a GST Council recommendation, which people are waiting for, that if you throw some points, few points which we were waiting and the government is not taking up or not giving decision. If this type of points, if you can touch upon few of them, it will definitely be enrich the knowledge of our members. Something for which we are waiting, like one of the GST Council we were waiting for long. And other few points if coming to your mind, which government must have deliberated by the time and given some decision.
Yes, Date sir.
No, as I said that there are many things to be done, but at least one thing is there that GST Council is responsive. That is one thing, that if you make some suggestions, they do listen. So this is a good sign that they are adapting and they are they are willing to listen to what trade is saying. So that is a good sign. Instead of being adamant, because in July 1972, so you are saying that previously the GST Council was so adamant, or not GST Council, the officer, that they were not, for example, the GST website was not, website was not working, and they even refused to acknowledge that the website is not working and people are not in a position to file return. So from that state, now we have come to this stage where they are willing to listen and they are willing to listen to trade's views. So that is a good sign, I think.
Yes, over to you, Jatin sir.
I have a few things which I was hoping we'll find some resolution. The first thing is 16.4. We don't need to wait for anything to happen to give some clarity on 16.4, because it's creating a lot of angst amongst taxpayers and the demands are all accumulating, building up litigations and waiting for the tribunal. So 16.4 could have seen some resolution. Another concerning area is Section 150, that information return has not been notified, some clarity whether it's going to be notified, whether it's going to be in suspended animation for some time. The new 151 that was introduced last year, it's already being used by many officers without clarity as far as that omnibus authority vested with commissioner. So those areas, it's really minimum government, maximum governance is what GST stands for. And these provisions are not, it's very unbecoming of a legislation that is to deliver on those promises. So therefore, these areas I sense that things should be addressed. And the concern about the online gaming, which the GOM is still very deeply involved and engaged in discussions with various stakeholders. Why is it taking so much time? It's not that there is some confusion. Everyone knows the facts. Everyone knows the social implications. And from a short question as far as what GST has to do with the social angle to it is very limited. So therefore, GST clarity is important because this investigations across the country is going on, and it touches internet-based economy. It touches internet-based economy. It's not. Our sensibilities today have changed from the last, say, 30 years ago. So therefore, in tune with that, some clarity needs to quickly come out. The implications are very profound, I understand, but the decision needs to be taken because we've seen, like Sushilji was mentioning, we've seen bold decision makers in the government. Decisions should be taken and taken quickly because it will bring a lot of clarity for the other areas where some of these borderline cases are like OIDAR are getting affected, or virtual digital assets, how it's being dealt with. Investigations are still languishing. Vouchers, all these areas are still nebulous. So I think those areas I'm still awaiting decisions. So those I thought will come in here, and it's not yet here. So maybe that's for another day and another panel discussion possibly.
Yes, it was very insightful, sir. Over to you, Sushilji.
This 180 days payment with this budget finance bill has made some amendment, some tweaking. I don't know why this tweaking were required. It was ample clear that if somebody is not making, only the return to GST 2 has not implemented, so this it will add back to output tax liability. This was not very much to discuss, but one thing for which people are waiting, that what will happen to the retention money. This deduction is mandatorily done by the government and so many other organizations, keeping the retention money. Whether 180 days will hit the retention money. People asking number for long with the government, and whether this where there is a term of agreement is that payment will be made after 180 days. There may be a commercial terms. So whether this will still hit by 180 days, and somehow this 180 days you have to take the credit, then reverse it with interest. Suppose I know that my contract is saying that I will make payment after 1 year and I want to take credit after 1 year, not within 180 days. After 1 year, I wish to take the credit. But government is saying if you have not taken credit by the November now, which is earlier September, if you have not taken credit, after 1 year, you cannot take the credit. So what you have to do, you have to mandatorily take the credit of the amount which you are knowingly, which you know that you have to reverse after some time. Now the government is saying you take the credit, reverse it with interest. Then you are eligible to take credit any time in the life, whether you are making payment after 5 years, no time limit is. So why they are not streamlining this provision?
If you reverse within 180 days, whether interest is required. Interest should be required if you reverse after 180 days. If you reverse on the 188 days, why interest should be required?
At this point of litigation, sir, but government is of the opinion that once you've taken credit and you are reversing it, you have to repay the interest.
No, but so, I am allowed 180 days. So I suppose I reverse on 188 day. Then whether interest is payable. Interest should be payable after 180 days because law allows me to use it for 180 days. And basically why this 180 days provision has been made, the only reason is to avoid bogus invoicing, dummy invoicing. Otherwise, there is no reason for this 180 days provision. You see, whether I pay money to my supplier or not, that is none of government's business. That is, these are a commercial term. No, as long as the government has got the money, the tax money, whether I pay to that supplier, how government is concerned. So, basic idea in 180 days to avoid the dummy invoicing or bogus invoicing. In fact, that is the idea. Then I can arrange the dummy payments also. So, I mean, genuine people are suffering. And as you see, if I can arrange a dummy invoicing, I can surely arrange a dummy payment within 180 days, take it back on 180. So, this such type of provisions, actually, the genuine people are suffering, and the crooks have their own way of doing things. This 180 days makes no sense except to me.
Yes, sir, I understand, but one piece of information I want to add for your information, that when we go to ministry and we ask that, sir, this 180 days provision is not good, you please remove it. Then what they said, sir, they said it is helping MSMEs like anything. Why, Mr. Goyal, you want to remove it? Why you are talking against the MSMEs? Because now business is making payments within 180 days just for this provision, and MSMEs are getting help of this. So this is another view taken by government. So down they are not going to touch upon 180 days because they are associated it with the small MSME sector. So MSME sector is surviving just for, and there's time and again they have mentioned also, even finance minister when she was in Calcutta, somebody raised this issue, that they said it is helping MSMEs. Why you are talking against the MSMEs? So this is another view taken by the government. We have to that also to be kept in mind, sir. Only information I thought I should share with you. Thomas, sir, I think you are ready with the questions now. If somebody has asked something, you can.
Yes, there are near about 18 to 19 questions. I have gone through the questions, and I am just taking the questions which are more relevant for us. The first question was when the GST changes will come as per the recommended of council. I think it doesn't require discussion. It will come when the notifications come and it is made effective. Then another question is, what about the late fees of the GSTR 9 for the previous year 21-22? What will happen to that? So that was the one of the question. I think we have to wait for the fine details for the past year, what will come. Then the next query is, there are returns pending GSTR 4, 9 and 10. So they have taken 10 also in it. This is about the conditional waiver reduction of late fees, when it is expected to be notified. I think we panelists have discussed it will be notified whenever the official gazette come. We can't comment when it will come. And then, when is the GSTAT likely to be practically in place? This was the one question. We have already deliberated a lot on this. If you have been present in the first instance of the session, you have got the query resolved. Let's see when it comes. Next query is, apart from a judicial member, independent technical member, IAS, retired or on a deputation, experienced advocate, CAs must represent GST Tribunal, not from the state and central GST department while in the service with GST department. I think this point has already been dealt with. There is one query coming from Shweta in the context of OIDAR services. The ICI background material has simplified the definition of OIDAR services as the services supplied derived over continuous internet connectivity. But the definition in the IGST Act has not used the term continuous. Whether only if the entire set of services are provided on internet connectivity, such as services, will be regarded as OIDAR services. Where do we find reference of continuous in the definition of OIDAR services as provided in IGST Act? This query has been raised twice, so I have taken it. Can we comment on this, Jatin sir?
Yes. See, as far as OIDR services is concerned, presently we've seen there's an expression that has now been amended in this definition of OIDR, which was therefore in existence in the past prior to this amendment, where the extent of dependency on the network was established. It can't be considered as interrupted dependency. So therefore, that interpretation has been presented. And the observation is very astute that these terms have to be very diligently understood. Today, with the in the light of the amendment, my sense is that the explanation in the background material stands validated, because that is what was being done. And today, that has also been diluted further with the amendment in Finance Bill 23.
Now, one query is a very important query. GST Council is GST Tribunal is not formed, and there are the orders which have gone against us. So, what is the remedy available to me?
The first thing is pay 10% and keep quiet, or then go to High Court if the matter is of recurring nature.
Perfect. So this is the answer to that. Then come down to the next query. As per section 23, an agriculture is to the extent of supply of produce out of cultivation of land is not liable for registration. If the agriculture is turnover consists of 50 lakh for supply of agriculture produce and 1 lakh for renting of immovable property, is he required to take registration under GST, and what will be implications under RCM? The same questions which we discussed, the registration requirement for RCM when it's exempt and also when it's few.
I think people are merging this finance bill with this GST Council.
Correct.
The GST Council, they never take interest. They are more interested in the finance bills. So they are taking all these points.
No, but I think
Yes,
the
sir.
recent amendment is quite clarified, quite good, that if you are otherwise exempted, then you don't have to register just because some of your services are under RCM. So I believe this is a good amendment which they are making, and they are making with retrospective effect from 1st July 2017. So I believe this amendment will solve many issues.
Okay. Now we come down to the last two questions. Considering the proposed amendment in section 13, subsection 9, if an Indian shipping industry provides services to a non-resident for transportation within India, then it will be export. Yes, sir. That is, sir.
Good question. But if you ask me, yes, it should be export, because then now we are destination, etc. All thing is gone. You have to see the recipient of service. In fact, it is other way around also. That is, suppose an Indian firm provides transport, say in Brussels, from one state to other. Now, whether the Indian company will be liable to pay GST, they should be, because even the goods are moving in Brussels, they both service recipient and service recipient. So, accordingly, I think it should be exempt.
Yes. Okay. Now, there is a last question coming up for Jatin sir. In a budget section 23 amended to begin with, notwithstanding to override a section 22 and 24. In the same way, when you have notwithstanding in section 16.2, does it mean it override section 16 subsection 4?
This is called perspective bias, that we would like to read the law the way we would like the meaning to come out. But where 16.2 provisions contain something that is conflicting with 16.4, then perhaps yes. But certainly my word is not the last word. I would encourage the member who posed this question to canvass this interpretation to hold on to the non-obstant clause in 16.2, but also consider, therefore, what does this do to 16.4? It should not render 16.4 OTOs. That much justice we should do to the existence of 16.4, and then see how we would like to canvass this interpretation. But certainly worth a try. I would support that.
Great.
Difficult.
Date sir?
It is very difficult because the specific provision always prevails over a general provision. That is the general principle of interpretation. And if you go by the petition, section 16.4 is a specific provision. And normally a specific provision should prevail over a general provision.
Okay. So these were the queries which were raised by the our participants. I have taken some few of the queries which were much relevant and much important. And now I think with the permission of Sushil sir, shall we conclude the session? Unmute Sushil sir.
Vice Chairman, you have to offer vote of thanks also.
Yeah. Just I am asking anything from your side before conclusion.
No.
Okay.
But just asking members to be alert to the website of the Indirect Tax Committee. We have good number of publications there. In that the ICI should come out on a particular publication. ICI is ready to work upon that. And please keep on writing suggestions, or in today's webinar also you can write your suggestions. Wherever our members need help, ICI is ready to support them. So always feel free to write to ICI. Thank you very much, all the members from my side. Now I am requesting Vice Chairman to offer formal vote of thanks. And definitely I must thank Date sir and Jitin Christopher sir, because this is organized on a very short notice. And still, I think more than 900 members are viewing this webinar. And in future also, sir, we have planned that whenever we will have this GST Council meeting, there will be one webinar from the Delhi of national webinar. And next time we will definitely try to announce before the GST Council meeting itself. So we will have more participation and people will aware, because it is 2 days back only we announced. So still we are having 900 members. It is good to see. Over to Umesh Sharma.
Yes, thank you.
The institute has good contacts with the members of the council. So if you can invite, because see, they know what we are saying are only from the press reports. But if somebody insider is there, he knows, for example, Tribunal, what actually the report says. These are our guesses. So if we can invite some inside members, that will be better, because he knows inside. And we are just outsiders. We read whatever we read in papers. That's all. But it is better if you can invite some insider. I mean, not insider trading like that. I'm not saying that. But yes, he surely has a better knowledge than what GST Council has in mind, or what has been proposed in the committee. So I believe C Institute has better contacts with them, and they should be able to come. And C Institute is it's not it's a well-reputed institute. So you see, generally these people, the government people, they do not come to private businesses. They are afraid. But if C Institute invites them, they should be able to join. And I believe you must have that much contacts and that much reputation. So you should use that so that we get motor. I mean, we don't want inside story or some hidden story, but whatever they are in mind, they should be able to tell us.
Yes, sir. Your point is well noted. And we will see that your suggestions are always welcome for us. And thanks for the good words about the institute. And we will take up further the discussion to that level. Now it's a time to give vote of thanks. I think Jitin sir has logged out. Impreet, please check.
Sir must be logging in. The technical issue.
Yeah. It's Jatin sir has come back. Yes. So all the participants, thanks for your overwhelming response within the short period of time. And I hope you must have enjoyed the thorough discussion on this, which started from the GST Tribunal, then went to the rate changes, pan masala, gutka, and then we went to coal, and then we went to the amnesty, not amnesty, because Sushil sir has told that it's a not good word to use, but relaxation.
Rationalization.
Rationalization, and then we went to RCM, then government related services, then 16.4 also we deliberated, then we also deliberated on the place of supply for the shipping companies, and very important, as is basis, the word which has been come up needs to be taken care of whenever there are rate change. So thanks for the complete deliberation. Thanks Jatin sir for your knowledge sharing, and thank you Date sir, you are always there, एंड आपके आशीर्वाद हमको ऐसे मिलते रहे. सर ने ऐसा हाथ ऊपर कर दिया तो ये अपने लिए बहुत बड़ी बात है, और सारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स को बड़ी खुशी है कि दाते सर को सुनना ये एक बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि रहती है सभी के लिए. With this word, I thank our technical team. Thanks to Impreet Kaur, who is there to see that the VCM went in a very proper way. Thanks for her efforts. And at the end, thanks to our chairman Sushil sir, who has immediately taken up that we must have such a VCM after taking the office. And this is the first VCM. And we will take much more in future. And as pointed out by our chairman sir, the material of GST IDT committee, the programs of GST IDT committee are always posted on the website. Please refer them, view your suggestions, and we will work much more better in future. So with these words, I am very much thankful for giving me opportunity to be present in the extreme panelist list. I am there as a moderator, and I will work for the best for this committee and for GST. So with these words, thank you. And when the notifications and everything comes up, we will definitely come back with the same panel list so we can correlate the things and have a better understanding of the provisions in future. So thanks. Wish you all happy
learning. It was a good learning experience, sir. Let me tell you.
Wow, sir. That's nice. That's nice, sir. Thank you.
More than what we give. So Jatin sir had a very, very good idea. Good. So which, in fact, more the people, more the ideas come in mind. We cannot imagine all sorts of situations. So thanks Jatinji. Thank you. Thank Goyalji for bringing out various aspects of the same. And I believe it is a good learning exercise for me at least.
Oh, sir, it's your goodness, it's your greatness. And thanks to God for people like you. So we enjoy the knowledge sharing. Thanks, Jatin sir, for your words of wisdom.
Thank you.
Thank you all for bestowing your unconditional support. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.